do not necessarily reflect those of the advertisers, owners, or management of Pacific Telestations, LLC. For comments, opinions, and questions, please email Jess Lujan at jessthebuzz@gmail.com. The Buzz with Jess Lujan.
Good evening, Guam. I'm Jess Lujan. Welcome to this edition of The Buzz. Again, last week and as well as this week, I got the Governor of Guam, Baza Calvo, who's my in-studio guest tonight. Good evening, Governor. How are you doing?
It's great to see you again.
You're looking good.
I'm always enjoying coming to your show.
It's always great. It always brings me back to the time when we were colleagues.
Oh, that was fun in the legislature.
that was fun. Governor, let me talk about this because I've talked about this in my radio show, and I'm not quite convinced. I don't think you are as well in this hybrid retirement situation that we're in right now, and because a lot of things when I'm reading from the legislative side, that these things are based on assumptions, and with me assumptions, and I remember we served in the legislature when we were looking about these Marines are going to be transferred from Okinawa to Guam, and we've had how many folks that we entertain, off-island folks entertain, businesses and people getting into real estate and buying apartments and things of that nature, assuming that there's going to be a boom. I know you got hit again when as soon as you first came in because you wanted homes to be more affordable to people, and then from the assumptions of those prospectors, they said, Governor, what are you doing? You're creating havoc for us because we bought all these places now, and you're competing against us. And so here we are, assumptions. Yeah, we haven't learned, have we?
It's amazing that the same folks that threw this piece of legislation to us, including again B.J. Cruz and Mike St. Nicholas, working with Speaker Joe T. St. Augustine, they were all involved in the first problem with, again, the defined benefit plan in 1995 going to D.C. The assumption was then after this reform was to occur, that we settle the issues on the unfunded liability. Since that, based on these assumptions that everything was supposed to stabilize, our unfunded liability had gone from $600 million back then to now $1.2 to $1.3 billion. So the assumptions were all wrong. We are right now on the verge of getting the final report out from an independent actuary on this hybrid law that was, again, unfortunately, I overrode my veto. I had requested, can we at least wait for the report to come out? Unfortunately, all the Democrats, and we had, unfortunately, Mary Torres and Jimmy Espaldon voted with them, with the Democrats.
Republicans voted with the Democrats.
Unfortunate, but with the override, and now it's a law. The big issue here now is those assumptions that are made, even with the assumptions, you're looking at us potentially getting a credit downgrade. There's going to be about a $173 million increase in unfunded liability, and this does not include the additional liability of $135 million because they had used old numbers. They had used the 2014 numbers, and yet when we look at 2015, there was an increase of $135 million in additional liabilities for the retirement fund. So this in itself, based on the assumptions, is very bad. Now when you have a plan that gives a guaranteed return, rate of return on an investment on one hand, or a guaranteed annuity, it's understanding that you have to have certain assumptions. They've already proven wrong in all assumptions. And that is what my concern is about, is that the general fund is basically being handed over to the retirement fund, and the taxpayers are going to feel the crunch in it. Me as a governor, most of the impacts aren't going to hit till 2018, so it'll be minimal in my administration. The only thing that might hit is I'm expecting any time now to get a credit downgrade. As a result of us going back into this hybrid DB plan that was enacted by the legislature. What I'm hopeful for now moving forward, again, if we can get a Republican majority, is that coupled with Madeline Berdalio's movement towards Social Security, we square that away. And then with that Social Security inclusion for government of Guam workers, then look at the issue with our retirees again and focus on those gaps. Those folks that are within 5 years of retirement, what kind of assistance they need. Also, what in the long term for our DCers, what can be done to ensure that there's enough investments in there and contributions so that they have a great nest, they have an adequate nest egg when they retire. This thing was done, again, without any third-party review, and I'm deeply concerned about it. What I'm hopeful for now is that moving forward, particularly after this election, that we can revisit this. I'm going to remind everybody here, what this thing has done, aside from the financial impacts for the taxpayers and for the retirement fund, it does not guarantee anything for those that were having issues. So for those that want to retire, they're still going to have to put some money up. For a lot of folks here, they're going to have to take a lot of out of pocket. It doesn't solve their issues.
And those folks are retiring now. I mean, So
it doesn't solve the problem for those that was originally supposed to solve. It was they basically they threw the baby out with the bathwater when they should have just looked at the areas that needed to be addressed.
Now, correct me if I'm mistaken
folks
with
the DC plan and those that need to retire.
There's a component in that hybrid plan also that allows the GovGuam employee to retire earlier. Is there one?
Well, that was part of. We've done everything. Like it's like the reverse of what is happening
in Social Security.
With Puerto Rico. Part of the reasons for why they are now in bankruptcy, they keep talking about the debt, but really, it was not really the issue of the debt. It was a giant government pension fund that was unsustainable. Well, we've just jumped back into that minefield. Certain things that states now and communities that have to deal with the DB plan, what they're trying to do is to, obviously, how do you stabilize things? You stretch out the retirement age. What did they do? They brought the retirement age earlier. So now with that has added more towards the unfunded liability because people are going to be retiring earlier.
Maybe I can switch my Social Security plan to the GovGuam plan because every time I'm getting close to Social Security, they increase it a little more. So I don't know if I'm ever going to collect.
And then they stretched out the amortization of the payout. I mean of the payback on the unfunded liability.
So how does this make economic sense and savings, Governor?
It makes no economic sense. This was a deal put together by B.J. Cruz and Mike Nicholas with Joe T. Sinagasi. It was a money grab, taking the general fund and the investments of our workers in control of the retirement fund. And it's unfortunate now because we're going to start feeling the effects potentially with the credit downgrade, and then now having to put more money by the taxpayers in the general fund to fund this new hybrid law, at the same time not giving any guarantees for the future for those folks that, again, were in need in regards to the DC plan.
Well, likewise with this, Governor, doesn't this also, this hybrid plan, if I'm correct again here, hopefully I'm not mistaken, that it calls for the government contribution as well as the individual's contribution to rise as well. Right? I mean, and a government cannot afford it anymore at this point, and neither do employees. So you're increasing this cost.
What was the assumption? It's only $5 million. It's amazing how Senator Cruz and Senator Silikas in one hand says, be fiscally responsible, Governor. And now based on their assumptions, the general fund is going to only put in $5 million. First of all, $5 million is not only, and again, it's on an assumption. Boy, these are a lot of assumptions, but unfortunately, these assumptions since 1995 have not proven accurate.
But even if it's only $5 million, okay, sometimes when people only take one shot, that's all it takes for them to be, stinking drunk.
But again, what I'm hopeful for, working with Congresswoman Berdalio, solidifying the Social Security plan now, where we can have GovGuam workers included in it. Looking at the final results of the plan of the actuarial report that was done by a third party, that was looking out for the interest not only of the retirement fund but the general fund, and not only retirees but the whole taxpayer base. Looking at that report, and then coming up with another option that can solve the issues for our hardworking GovGuam workers, but at the same time protect the current DB members who right now have a little bit more unstable retirement fund, and also the taxpayers of Guam who also have to use their hard-earned money and taxes to pay for this new hybrid law.
Governor, I gotta take a break. I'm not assuming that we have to pay bills. I know we have to pay bills. Be right back.